apple, banana, orange, and car. Can you say that which one is different? Yes, you got it. Car is the odd one out because it's not a fruit. Dog, cat, mouse, and rose. Which one doesn't belong? That's right. Rose is the odd one out because it is a flower, not an animal. Pizza, burger, ice cream, and dog. Which one is odd? Yes, dog because it is not a food. Rice, bread, milk, and chair. What's the different one? Correct, chair, because you can't eat chair. Grapes, orange, lion, and watermelon. Which one is odd? Yes, lion, because it is an animal, not a fruit. Chocolate, cake, tiger, and cookie. Which one doesn't belong? Correct, tiger is odd because it is an animal, not a food. Dog, cat, cow, and rose. Which one is different? Yes, rose, because it is a plant, not an animal. Lion, tiger, elephant, and mango. What's the odd one out? Correct, mango, because it is a fruit. Sparrow, crow, table, and pigeon. Which one is the odd? Yes, table, because it is not a bird. Horse, goat, sheep, shirt. Which one is odd? Shirt, because it is a cloth, not an animal. Fish, whale, shark, and banana. Which one is different? Yes, banana, because it is not from the water. Sun, moon, stars, and book. Which one is different? Yes, book, because it is man-made, not natural. Tree, flower, mountain, and car. Which one is odd? Car, because it is not a part of nature. Rain, cloud, river, and computer. Which doesn't belong? Yes, computer, because it is not natural. Leaf, grass, dog, and stem. Odd one, please. Right, dog, because it is not a plant. plant. Sand, soil, rock, and pencil. Which one is odd? Correct. Pencil, because it is man-made. Chair, sofa, bed, and tiger. Which is different? Yes, tiger, because it is not a furniture. It is an animal. Cup, plate, spoon, and elephant. Which one is odd? Right, elephant, because it is an animal. Ball, bat, doll, and mango. Which one is odd? Correct, mango, because it is a food, not a toy. Shoes, shirt, pants, and banana. Which doesn't belong? Yes, banana, because it is not a cloth. Pen, book, bag, and monkey. Odd one, please. Right, monkey, because it is an animal. Red, blue, yellow, and dog. Correct, dog. Dog is the odd one out because it is not a color, it is an animal. Circle, square, triangle, and banana. Which is the odd one? Yes, banana, because it is not a shape, it is a fruit. Star, heart, diamond, and lion. Which one is the odd? Yes, lion, because it is not a shape, it is an animal. Oval, rectangle, cat, and circle. Odd one, please. Right, cat, because it is not a shape, it is an animal. Green, black, orange, and tiger. Which one is the odd? Correct, tiger, because it is not a color. Bus, train, airplane, and apple. Which one is odd? Yes, apple, because it is not a vehicle. It is a fruit. Car, bike, truck, and mango. Odd one, please. Correct, mango, because it is a fruit. Ship, boat, rocket, and banana. Which one is odd? Yes, banana, because it is not a transport. Cycle, scooter, jeep, and elephant. Odd one. Right, elephant, because it is not a vehicle. Helicopter, bus, car, and cow. Which one is odd? Yes, cow, because it is an animal, not a transport. Bed, fan, fridge, and dog. Which one is the odd one? Correct. Dog, because it is not a home item. Clock, plate, spoon and tiger. Odd one again. Yes, tiger, because it is not used at home. Door, window, chair and mango. Which is different? Yes, mango, because it's a fruit. Soap, brush, comb and cat. Which doesn't belong? Correct, cat, because it is not a bathroom item. Pen, pencil, rose and eraser. Which one is odd? Rose, because it is a flower, not a stationery product. Guitar, piano, drum and mango. Which one doesn't belong? Correct, mango, because it is not an instrument. Football, cricket, rose and hockey. Which one is the odd one? Rose, because it is not a sport. Jump, run, sleep and banana. Which one is the odd one? Right, banana, because it is a fruit, not an action. Apple, dancing, crying and laughing. Which doesn't belong? Correct, an apple, because it's a fruit. Singing, reading, drawing and tiger. Which one is the odd one? Yes, tiger, because it is an animal. Teacher, doctor, pilot and banana. Which one is odd? Correct, banana, because it is not a person. Farmer, nurse, carpenter and lion. Which one is different? Yes, lion, because it is not a profession. Police, soldier, fireman and mango. Which one is odd? Correct, mango, because it is a fruit. Chef, driver, cook and rose. Odd one? Yes, rose, because rose is a flower. Prince, apple, queen, king. Which doesn't belong? Correct, apple, because it is not a person. Ice, water, steam and dog. Which one is odd? Yes, dog, because it is not a form of water. Book, story, poem and banana. Which one is different? Correct, banana, because it is not a reading material. Monday, Tuesday, cat and Friday. Which doesn't belong? Yes, cat, because it is not a day. 2, 4, 6, and apple. Which one is odd? Yes, apple, because it is not a number. January, March, April, and tiger. Which one is different? Correct! Tiger, because it is not a month.